how can you trust this Premier? Today we tabled a document and a letter that we sent to the Ethics Commissioner in order to take a deeper dive and to take a look to try to get Manitobans some answers in regards to the Premier's spending habits, and the fact that it's not just his spending habits, the fact that he's unwilling to be accountable and transparent to Manitobans about some of the things that he's been doing. Now, many of you are thinking, why should Manitobans be concerned? Well, I think if anybody tuned in to watch this afternoon's question period, I think they should be concerned. I mean, we're looking at the Premier taking a private jet where the rules state quite clearly that in order to do something along those lines, he has to have a conversation with the Ethics Commissioner and has to basically get a disclosure agreement with the Ethics Commissioner to basically state whether it's a good idea or not to be moving forward with that. We've seen the Premier again attend the Grey Cup. And again, I want to be clear, as I was with the CBC who broke the story. I want to be clear that it's not about attending the Grey Cup. That's not the issue. It's about following the law and about disclosing the thousands of dollars that he may or may not have paid for that chartered air service. Wab Kinew did not do so, and then changed his story multiple times and took over 170 days to start to comply. So where was this story that he was coming out with today? Where was that? Where's that over the last over 170 days? He's only saying what he's saying today because he's been caught. And there's more to this story, and the Ethics Commissioner is going to come up with exactly what that is. So again, as the Premier of Manitoba, attending the Grey Cup is absolutely fair game, pun intended. But to do it without disclosing and to stand in public on question period and basically gloat to hardworking Manitobans that he can afford to pay thousands of dollars for a chartered plane ride where he could have taken a commercial plane ride to get to the Grey Cup. It's actually unbecoming of a Premier to stand and actually gloat. So if he can afford those thousands and thousands of dollars, we know that he's taken a trip to Washington on a couple times, $68,000. So why doesn't he pay that back to taxpayers if he stands and pats himself on the back during question period? In March email, the Premier's spokesperson basically told the CBC that the government paid for Kinew's assistance flight. In a subsequent email, 6 days later, the spokesperson retracted that statement and said the Premier paid for it. So what's the truth? We're coming up to 18 months here of the Premier being in government, the Premier being the Premier, and we're seeing more and more examples of this. We saw just last week, as we had questioned, during the BC provincial election, the Premier went and was campaigning, knocking on doors for the BC Premier. So then this story comes out from the CBC. What else has he not disclosed?